Awesome. Thanks, Zoe. Kia ora tātou. Welcome to Waiting Corp, November 24. Delma, would you? Thank you.
Kia ora tātou, ka tūwhata tātou hui. Tākiri mai te rangi nei, tākiri mai te rangi, tākiri mai te ura o te ata o te rangi nei, tūturu whakamaua kia Tina, haumie hui e tāi ki e.
Thanks, Delmarie. Okay, apologies. And we have one from Marcus Gower. And everyone else is here. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Claire. All in favour? Contrary, no. Carried. Disclosures of members' interests. Nope. Late items, likewise. Confirmation of order of meeting. No changes, Ken?
No, not that I'm aware of.
All good. Okay, so thanks, Roger.
Yep.
Thanks, Bruce. All in favour? Contrary, no. Carried. Confirmation of the minutes from 15 October. They are on pages 8 to... Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Do I have a seconder, Lou? No. Everything's good with that. So I'll put the motion. All in favour? Contrary, no. That's carried. Right. Item 6 is the health, safety and wellbeing report. And a welcome to Clark and Bev.
Thank you. Good afternoon, tēnā koutou katoa. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to present our health, safety and wellbeing report for the period of August to October. We are taking the report as read, and Bev and I are happy to take any questions that anyone may have.
Great. Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this threat and response framework for aggression and the diagram you've got. With the fact that the majority of things are underlined, that's an interactive software, is it?
So with what's underlined, it actually links to a document which gives us a process.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So each one of those has got something
Process
additional
behind it, yes.
Right, okay. Yeah. I wouldn't mind having a look at this. Can we link onto that?
I need to talk to George. It belongs to the crisis manager. So we
All
will
right,
just,
okay.
yeah.
No, it's only out of interest. And, Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I really enjoyed reading the report, and I thought the stuff in it is excellent. Really like that framework. Yeah, to do with keeping the staff safe and things like that. But I do have a couple of questions. I noticed that on page 28 of our agenda, which is page 10 of your report, there's a big drop in completion efficiency. So this is, I presume, to do with the EAP stuff. And I just, yeah, so it's dropped from 88% down to 69%. That's on the third to bottom row in that, yeah. And so I just wondered whether or not that's actually connected with the workload issue, because, you know, obviously people might reach out to get a bit of a help, and maybe they don't feel that they can skip, or that they skip the last session because, you know, they just can't fit it in or something. I was a bit worried about that. In fact, some of my other questions are about that workload issue that shows that, you know, we are definitely out of sync with, you know, the other people that are participating in that program. Yeah, and that women are probably bearing the brunt of that as well. Yeah, so I just wondered if you've got any further commentary or whether you're following it up to make sure that these issues, I suppose, can be resolved in some kind of way or improved, because it paints a picture that in council, women have got heavier workloads than men. They don't feel like their relationships with their co-workers is that great. So in fact, they might be feeling isolated. And then if they are reaching out for some help through the EAP system, you know, they don't actually have time to make sure that they follow up or like take up all the sessions and things like that. So that's probably painting you know, the worst possible scenario, but I just feel that it's worth trying to address some of those points to see if there's anything that could be improved there.
Thank you for that. So when we do look at the information on page 10, what it does show us, there's not so much the issues separated by men and women. What it does show us is that women are using the service a lot more than men. But when it comes to the efficiency, I understand from my follow-up with EAP a few months ago, it does highlight that some people are requiring more programs than we would ideally like, but obviously we do want to provide that extra support to them. On the topic of workload, it has come through in this report and also the previous report. So it is something that our executive is very aware of. And it is something that we have picked up through our wellbeing framework. That is something that we would like to focus more on in the future. And as you can imagine, when it comes to workload, there can be quite a bit that can actually sit behind that. So we do want to make sure that we use a well thought out approach to it.
Yeah, thanks. It's great that you've got those extra things going on. And I really liked that wellbeing battery kind of resource that you've set up. I thought that was really good. And I'd be interested to know, yeah, whether or not people are finding that helpful and stuff like that. Yeah, so yeah, I commend you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dale Marie.
Tina Korua. Thank you for your report. Can you just tell me who our key stakeholders are for the wellbeing framework, just in regards to, I'm looking at the Te Tiriti o Waitangi principles, Te Ao worldview, cultural inclusivity, and yeah, Te Ao Māori worldview, acknowledging the Te Tiriti o Waitangi principles. Who are we working with that?
So we had three main stakeholder groups. The first stakeholder group was, sorry, I was meant to say through the chair. Apologies for that. So the first group were our health and safety reps. And as you know, we have quite a number of them across our business that represent quite a few different work areas. We also worked with our unit managers and also with the wider HR team, mainly the wider HR team because of the expertise in this area and because they will be supporting with some initiatives that come off the back of it. When we ran our workshops, we did get some significant feedback that we need to make sure our wellbeing framework aligns with our strategic direction and also make sure it does honour our values, in particular Te Tiriti.
Thank you.
I just want to follow on from Claire's questions. And I don't want a specific answer here, but just I imagine you're reporting this by business unit or whatever up through the organisation so that people know where the sort of the work stress, the workload pressures are, that Steph and Steph are all over that without giving me details. Is that happening? Are you breaking it down by business unit?
Off the top of my head, I don't think the information provides that level of breakdown. I think it gives us more of a global picture, but I'm only about 90% sure of that statement. But I can look further to see if it does give us some additional information.
I was just a suggestion to think about it because, you know, we're always trying to focus on resourcing the organisation, and if there are pressure points that are showing up in the stress and workload, it's kind of a useful indicator that maybe we're not adequately resourcing particular parts of the business, right? So that's that. And in case you missed the memo, Steph has instructed staff not to say through the chair anymore. So you're all good.
Almost all good.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. No one else? I just make a comment on the traffic management initiative, and great to see some promising signs coming out of that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see the results when you're at the end of this process. So, but if there's nothing else, do I have a mover to accept the recommendation? Thanks, Mike, and a seconder, please. Thanks, Lou. All in favour? Contrary, no. That is carried, and thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Item 7 is the quarterly property report, and I see David over there. Welcome, David. Your team's been busy as always. Awesome.
All right, tēnā koutou, councillors. Today I present you the quarterly property services report for July 1 through to September 30th. And the purpose of the report is to provide the committee with a quarterly update of the activities within the team. Just running through the report briefly, the level of service and performance measures have been met to date for the first quarter. The Cambridge Water Tower staff are awaiting completion of the new detailed seismic assessment. We have a draft. Further materials being tested, the engineering side of it to finalise that. And we have some removal of some corroded metalwork, which is scheduled for this month. And that's due to debris falling off it. So the building team have asked us to remove that. The Cambridge Clock Tower has a few small areas on the buttress that remedial work has been taken place after the plaster that was put on there flaked a little bit. That's going to be due to be completed at the end of November.
That's the work that's been done now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. The Karapiro Lake Domain Reserve Management Plan is proceeding well, with the first project steering group meeting well attended. It was great to hear the different clubs talking together offline about their future needs and aspirations. So hopefully that continues and we have a good process. Lease portfolio is going well. We've got 8 new community leases that have recently been brought through to you. From the asset management side, a recent audit undertaken by Tonkin and Taylor has assessed that the property asset management maturity has improved in maturity by 67%, which is great to see that system is being used. From a pensioner unit standpoint, we still have a large number of on the waiting list for the pensioner units. TA is 29, Keiki 3, Cambridge 27, Leamington 21, and then we've got 7 that are looking right across the district. So we've got 87 on the list, 54 of who are Waipa residents and 31 who are non-residents. So still a pressure point in that standpoint. The disposal program is going well. Sales from June through to November total close to $3.5 million. And with further disposal options coming to you from Andrew as they progress. Our quarterly 2 priorities going forward continue with the reserve management process at Karapiro, and then the tender award and contract start of a significant building renewal. I'll take any questions if you've got them.
Yeah, thanks, David. Can you just go back to the lease portfolio? And I can't remember when you started or before you started, there was a heck of a number of leases that had lapsed and that were, they weren't in the system, and you felt you'd committed to get on top of it. How many still outstanding? Got nearly all of them done?
Yeah, we've got it to give you the exact number, I have to go back, but it's around 18 to 20.
Still to do?
Still to do.
That's pretty good, isn't it, from what you had?
From 200.
Yeah, good.
Philip.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for your report. Just 2 quick questions around the water tower. Is it still in the same sort of ballpark? And secondly, when was the last update that you've given Resthaven? What's going on and things like that?
Yeah. So just to bring to a date, so we've received the draft detailed seismic, but because that additional testing hasn't been completed to finalise it. We haven't shared any detail on that, and once we have that, then we'll go back to the community group that are interested in it. We'll go to and to Resthaven to share what the outcome of that assessment is.
Further to that,
Lou, then,
sorry, can I just further to that? There was a great photograph in social media of the tower when it was first being built
Being built.
and absolutely nothing around it. And it's just a great historical photograph of that, of the water tower. Really was great, wasn't it?
so we got Lou, Mike, and then Claire.
Yeah, thank you for the report through the chairman, David. That was excellent. Just quickly, I see with the housing, we had that increase, that figure, the elderly. Is that a figure that is increasing, or is there a trend that you can notice there at all?
Through the chair, it's sitting about that. That's where
It hasn't increased with the current economic climate.
No, and we've looked at the asset management plan and how we're putting those figures in and then giving a level of service that council's providing. We're about 5 years on TA, 4 to 5 years, and then 2 to 3 years on Cambridge. So there's still a big demand on.
Big demand, yeah, but it is not increasing, it's staying quite static.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you very much for that.
Mike.
Okay, just again on the water tower, that photo and those additional notes there, I don't know when it was taken, but either the farmer didn't put his post in straight, it would almost look like it was on a lean 100 years ago. But there's some people standing on top of those, so it must have been relatively safe at some point. But it just goes to show that what we did, those months ago when we said, hey, it has to come down, but we're open to keep working hard to try and find other solutions. I think as a council, I think we made the right decision there. We sort of gave ourselves a backstop, but the option to go and explore other decisions or other possibilities, and that's what's happening now. So really looking forward to seeing definitively what comes back. Thanks, David.
Claire.
Thanks. No surprise, David, the Pirongia Halls. That's at the bottom of page 3 of your report, and that's page 34 of our agenda. Yeah, I just wondered if you could give me an idea of the next steps, because I know that with the Ahuaki consultation, there was the opportunity to get some more feedback from the community through another survey. And I was at a community association meeting recently and people were asking, well, what's going to happen next? And I said that there'll be opportunity for people, there'll be another meeting about it, at least one, but I don't know. Would you be able to fill me in on what the next steps are, please?
So through the chair, we received that feedback from the Ahuaki event, and quite a lot of feedback. So we're collating that at the moment, and that will then help feed into the original survey.
Okay.
At the same time, we're looking at the 10-year program on both of those buildings. Once we've got that information together, and we'll go from there on where there is, and then the recently developing plans that were put out in front of the AGM at the Pirongia Rugby Club, then again adds more complexity to that around talking to the community and saying, is this a direction that we should be looking at? Should they be looking at utilising one facility versus trying to use 3?
Yeah, and so you do envisage that there'll be more public engagement. No, that's cool. That's great. And can I ask you a question about the waiting list, for pensioner housing? Yeah, so we have got an update of the numbers that are on the waiting list, and that's on page 7 of your report here and page 38 of our agenda. But has there been any change since you last reported? There's no trend indicated like this.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know if the numbers?
Lou just asked that question actually.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're staying about static.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Should be concentrating. Yeah.
All good. Okay, if there's no further questions. We have a recommendation on page 32 to receive David's report. Do we have a mover? Thanks, Lou. A seconder? Thanks, Bruce. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. It's carried. Thanks, David. All good. Now, item 8.
So I believe the trust people are zooming in.
Yeah,
They should be.
Are they online? Excellent.
Kirsten and Simon.
So Kirsty, and there we go. There's Simon.
Kia ora, everyone.
What a, not sure if Kirsty's with you or not.
She's
joining now.
on the right.
Okay, great.
So, tēnā koutou again. Today with me, I have Simon Brew, the GM of Cambridge Town Hall Community Trust, and Kirsty Johnson, the chairperson of the Cambridge Community Trust. And they're here to present their the trust statement of intent and their update. So I'll pass over to Simon and Kirsty.
Thanks, David. Welcome, Kirsty, and Simon again. Welcome. So the floor is yours.
We got the
Good. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm just checking that's come through.
It has.
Right.
Awesome. Kia ora koutou. Thank you for the opportunity of having Simon and I here again today. We know you have important business, so we're going to keep our talk very short and brief. Basically, we're here to table our statement of intent for the 2025-26 year, and you will have had a copy of that in your packs prior to today. So we will take it as read. Basically, it builds on the previous SOIs and it talks to our 10-year strategy, which we presented last year. And there shouldn't really be any big surprises in it. It carries on with the same themes. We thought it would be useful to give you a small update just in terms of our usage and some of our upcoming renovations, which are due to start early next year. So Simon, I'll pass over to you to do that.
Thank you, Kirsty. Yeah, so we thought we'd just give a bit of a snapshot of where things are looking right now and a bit of data that we've been capturing. So just a couple of graphs here on the screen. Might just minimize that to make sure you can see. So just one of the things from one of our previous presentations was just capturing sort of a net promoter score or how people are feeling when they book the hall. So on the left of the screen there is how likely to recommend the Cambridge Town Hall to a friend. So a lot of really positive results there. 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, and then there's the dark pattern in the middle is a 1. So that does happen, but pretty positive trends there. And we're also just looking at, again, which age groups are booking the hall, just to get a snapshot of that. So I think you can see some data there, and that's the person who's hiring the hall for their event, whether it's a private event or a corporate event. So trying to capture, of course, to the best of people's knowledge, those that are hiring the hall, to the best of their knowledge, where their attendees are coming from. This first question in the Waikato or in the Waipa region. So some really interesting numbers there. The other, of course, captures perhaps things like Matamata, Morrinsville as well. I'm sure there's some Kihikihi in there. So really a broad range of people attending events at the hall. And again, that's to the best of people's knowledge of who's come to their event. And same question for attendees coming from anywhere else outside of the Waikato region. So some good reach coming in through those numbers. Just a snapshot. So as we closed out the 2023-24 financial year, we saw quite a strong uplift of trending numbers. So through the 2023 calendar year, through the financial year and then into this year. So those numbers are really looking good. And if we were not analysing by financial year and instead by calendar year, so looking at 2024, the usage rate where there's, something's in the hall is up at about 70% now. So that number's, sort of 270, 280. So, of course, we're closing out this calendar year soon. But that upwards trend is looking really good and it's really heartening. We've got a lot of bookings coming in for next year and we're already taking bookings right up and out into 2028 now. So that's really changed a lot of the business in terms of our future planning, but really some good indications coming for usage of the hall. So we're really pleased with that. So just a little bit of information there. Kirsty also asked me just to speak a little bit about the capital project. So of course the building works on our side rooms. The immediate works start again on January the 13th, so still on target for January 13th. We're just closing out some of the tendering processes on that as we speak, and looking forward to a very complex but exciting 6 months of next year, starting in January 13. Just for those who may not have captured some of the images, there's a bit of a look at some of the rooms here. That's not the carpet that's going in. It's just a sort of holding pattern for now, in case anyone has a reaction to it. But we're really excited about the Victorian room. Number one, in the middle, you'll be able to see there's 2 operable doors going in, so the spaces can be separated for different hirers and containing noise. And we really think this is going to be great for the conference business community during the week. A new bar, new kitchenette down the end, the corridors flipped over down that end, and I think that's going to make this space sort of self-sufficient from the rest of the hall for a lot of events. And that's helped by the fact at the top of that image, there's actually another bathroom toilet going in. So there's now 2 unisex toilets in that space, which is going to really help that in terms of hireage. So really looking forward to this work beginning. And so just sharing these images in case anyone's not seen them. And then on the Edwardian side, so this is the Lake Street side. There's quite a lot of work, of course, going on here. Everything that we've shared before. So that at the top of that picture, the new commercial kitchen going in. We really work to maximize bench or plating space in that design, as advised by different catering companies. A new bespoke bar, and behind the bar there, so somewhere in the middle of that image, there's sort of a quite fancy looking cupboard, and that has sinks, dishwasher, glassware, etc. For that space. The fridges for both spaces are going under the bar, just to really give it an elevated look. We really wanted to not have fridges at the back. On the bottom left of that image, you'll see if you know the room well, the step is removed, and the grand piano will be housed permanently there. For those who don't know, the Cambridge Lions Club very generously gave us a significant donation a couple of months back, and we've spent a few months hunting out a grand piano, which arrived about 2 months ago. So a C3 Yamaha grand piano, so really going to elevate the hall. So really a positive donation. They're really fantastic. The little blue aqua colored squares sort of at the bottom of the picture or to the right where you go into the main hall, that's the increased ducting for the HVAC that's going to go in. So we're still committed to putting in new HVAC throughout the entire building, including the main hall, as part of this work, just so we can actually cool the hall as well in the summer period. Of course, the hall's used for a lot of weddings, so we really want to have that option available, and we're still committed on both those sides to replacement of the roof on the Victorian side and repairs on the Edwardian side. We've really pushed our budget to do all of that. So, and that's what the bar will look like when the cupboards retract open. So really excited that we're getting very close to this work beginning, and all the sort of background work that's gone into that. And if I just hand back to Kirsty.
Also, I just wanted to do a little summary maybe. So over the last 3 years, our trustees and Simon and Monique have really laid some strong foundations for the Cambridge Town Hall and the way that it operates now. Our vision of being relevant, vibrant and connected is coming to life. We've made some significant strides in the last 18 months, shifting the day-to-day work from our trustees to our now very capable staff, which has allowed a clearer separation between that governance level and the day-to-day operations. So on that note, I just want to maybe make a shout out to the countless hours that our trustees spare of their voluntary time and that they put into the town hall. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that we've created an environment where we can attract staff that are really passionate, that are dedicated and that align with our mission. So I think that's really important, and that's a special thing that we can attract those kinds of staff to the Cambridge Town Hall to be in this journey with us. We're really grateful for our partnership with Council, and we appreciate the relationships that we've built over the last 3 years with both the staff and also the councillors. The support of council is really fundamental to our future, and we look forward to continuing to work together to achieve our shared goals for the community. And that's about all we have today. So maybe we'll hand over for any questions that you might have on our SOI or other ones.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to you both, Kirsten. Really pleasing, and you must be delighted to see the usage tracking up like that. It's, I mean, it's exactly what we're all, wanting to see, and to be achieving that is really awesome. So, questions?
No,
Okay, so we got Philip and then Roger.
no
And
real
then-
questions, but thanks for all of the work you're doing. It's just a magnificent building, and it really is the centre of our town. And then last week, some of us attended the citizen ceremony. It's just a really happy place to be in. It's just a beautiful building. So really look forward to seeing the improvements continuing over the next few years and things, and coming along to events. So yeah, thank you. Well done to all of you.
Roger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to repeat what Philip said. I just want to say really absolutely fabulous. The what you've added to the environment of Cambridge by the eclectic range of events that you're bringing into the town is wonderful. And as I say, it just adds a dimension to Cambridge, which is really valued. Thank you.
Liz.
Yeah, hi both. I guess, a few years ago, we asked you to activate the town hall, and boy, have you guys done it. So congratulations. Just a question around future fundraising. I just wondered if you might be able to just elaborate a little bit more about what the future holds in that space. And I also just wanted to acknowledge the passing of one of your trustees, Rob Feist. So I can't remember if you last saw us, whether that had happened or not, his passing, but obviously a very highly regarded trustee amongst your organisation, and a huge loss, I expect, as well. So our condolences there.
Thanks, Liz. I think we completely agree with you. He's been a really big loss for our trust, and it's definitely his mentorship for Simon and I has really been missed, I think. So on the fundraising part, there's a lot of uncertainty with where that might land. So we have held funds back from our what we've currently got in our capital budget. So we've held funds back to do that big master plan that we have visions for. But we've been out talking to people and starting to have those conversations, but without knowing where the council really sits on the funding towards that project, it makes it really hard to have those conversations and to get the support of people to know that their funds are going to go towards something that actually happens. So we're in a little bit of limbo, I guess, at the moment, and our focus has really been on those short-term, immediate improvements that we're doing. But it's certainly something that we still like to look to in the future.
And we just to add to that, if I may, Kirsty, we did have, as I said, a really substantial grant from the Lions for the piano. We actually also recently received another fairly decent, substantial donation about a month ago. The details of that we can share, but there is some traction in that space that we're really excited about, I suppose, in the last month. If I can share that, I'm not sure if Kirsty wants to share any more.
No, that's fine. One thing I would say is that if we don't get big funding towards the capital project, then we may need to separate it into smaller projects, well, some of the things, because there's a lot of the big master plan goes much further than what we have there today, but there are also a lot of smaller things that need to be done that we've put off in the big master plan. Things like the backstage area, which is all just paper. There's no insulation back there. Ramps for accessibility, things like that. So it may be, depending on how it all works out, that we chunk it off, some of those things in smaller sections.
Thanks for that. Yeah, sadly, we're all in limbo a bit with funding at the moment. But you know, you have got some positive things happening, so well done. Dale Marie. Wishes to move? And the second is there. No further discussion? Awesome. Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Contrary, no. That's carried. Thank you both very much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9. Ken, you wish to.
Actually, I don't believe it's this one. It's
Oh.
actually item 10.
Oh, you're right.
So yeah, we'll do
Indeed.
number 9 first.
Number 9. So, Andrew. Andrew.
Thank you. Good afternoon again. This is 48 Goodfellow Street. This is a 5,500 square metre vacant block, which is held as a recreation reserve. It has an underlying residential zoning. The land is not being utilised as a reserve and is considered to be surplus by our parks team. It is currently being mown by our parks team, and historically it was used for horse grazing. We consider that the highest and best use of this land is some form of high density residential development, which is likely to align with council affordable housing aspirations. The purpose of this report is to request that the reserve status of the land be revoked to enable disposal. So, while council can revoke the reserve status of the land, we would not retain ownership because the title is Crown derived. There is an element of risk associated with revoking the reserve status of this land. Generally, the split of the net sale proceeds is 50-50 between DOC and council. We may apply for up to 100% of the net proceeds. It is important to note that this is a policy option only and not an absolute certainty. We would mitigate this risk by an initial discussion with DOC and confirmation that they would apply the ministerial policy in dealing with this sale proceeds. This is potentially a very valuable site, and even 50% of the net sale proceeds would be a significant amount. I'm happy to take any questions.
Interesting. Mike. Mike, and then Claire.
Thank you. So I see Frontier in the background. So my question, I guess, is if this incineration plant comes into being, is it just really close to this bit of land? It's not.
No.
Right, that's all I need to know. No, fine, that case got no issue. Right.
Claire.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Like, I just accept that this land is probably surplus for recreational purposes. I'd really like to explore whether or not it could be used for affordable housing. So rather than dispose of it, whether or not a conversation could be started with Mana Whenua and maybe community housing providers as to see whether or not it'd be possible, you know, to get some kind of joint affordable housing scheme going there. And while I appreciate that the access isn't that great, you know, with the existing quite narrow, I suppose, driveway going up, but I see that there's just a little bit to the south, there's a double driveway also, you know, like obviously other, yeah, but anyway, I just thought I would be in favour of that conversation about revoking the reserve status, but seeing whether or not it's possible to retain the land with other partners to look at some kind of joint affordable housing development.
I think Ken.
Yeah, so just we're actually on that access way. I mean, yeah, the access way, as the report quite clearly says, is a challenge. Yeah, look, we actually I myself have walked over the property with Andrew and others, and yeah, we obviously noted all those other driveways at the far end of the property. That look, they already service multiple dwellings. So look, I don't think we'd be able, whoever was to develop it would be able to take advantage of that. I don't think you would ever get the neighbours' agreement to that, because of course it's really going to compromise their use of the driveway with the extra traffic volumes. I think the best way, Andrew, to get greater access to the property is to buy one of the other properties along there, flatten the houses, and basically build your access way through there. And because in fact you could actually still put new dwellings on those properties as well. You would have to, unfortunately, with all of them, the way they have built, and you can see this from the aerial map, you would have to demolish what was there, but you could replace with really good access for the development, as well as actually utilising that land area as well. Yeah, look, in terms of your broader question, though, yeah, so the report does allude to the fact that this would be perfect for affordable housing, but the other thing the report quite clearly says is that this is a piece of land that unfortunately we don't really have a lot of control over. So look, our intention, if you move ahead with this today, would be to be talking with the Crown in the background, in terms of this is absolutely prime for affordable housing development, but look, we are reliant on their cooperation and their assistance with that, obviously, councillor, because the moment that this reserve is revoked, basically all the control passes from us to the Crown. That's a trigger point, but yeah, we'll absolutely use our best endeavours, and in fact Andrew can talk further to that if you want. Yeah.
Through the chair, if I may just make a comment. Along the driveway, Kainga actually own a duplex on our driveway, and so we made an initial reach out some time ago to them, but they're not in a position to do anything at the moment. And so I thought that might have been an avenue to sort of do some sort of joint venture potentially, and that would still exist, I suspect, but they're not in a position. They've got Cambridge Road, which they're working on at the moment, and so they're a little bit stretched for now.
Thanks for that. Yeah, look, I went and had a walk over this place as well, and notwithstanding the magnificent view of the Fonterra factory, it actually lies really nicely. It lies north facing largely, and there is, if access can be sorted out, there's a real opportunity there. However, does anyone have any blue?
Yeah, just quickly through Chair. Andrew, thank you for your report. Well done. I've actually done, like Andrew, walked over it. I noticed there's no services, and with that narrow service lane, you'd have problems. But as Ken explained, if the developer purchased a property, we could bring all of the services in through that area, which makes sense to me, because you're virtually beyond Alexander Street there and coming into rather than Goodfellow. So you could actually come in one of those ways anyway. The thing I was actually more interested in was the ability for us to look at going to the Reserves Minister and saying that we could use some of that money to actually replace that land or carry on doing some other reserves so that we get 100% back. Because I think there is a shortage, and I know this for a fact, at the moment of sports fields in our town right now. And if we look at Carlton Park and some of these others, perhaps we can actually offset a little bit of that with this in the grounds of picking up some of that money that would come from this development.
Through the chair, we are actually dealing with DOC at the moment on another property on that very thing. We've requested 100% of the net proceeds from the sale of a reserve, and they've come back asking on what basis would we ask for that. So we have to prepare a story around how we would do it, and that would be part of the disposal plan, because we wouldn't give up that 50% lightly, because there's a lot of money at stake here, particularly with this block.
Okay, so this recommendation is basically asking for the process to be begun. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Yeah, okey-doke. Have mover, no further discussion? Seconder, thanks, Bruce. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. That's carried. Thanks, Andrew. Don't go anywhere. So we're moving on now to item 10, and 10 is what
Yes.
an introduction.
Yeah, so look, this one I will introduce. So this is the revocation or the potential revocation of the reserve on Eden Avenue. And that reserve is named the Arthur Patterson Reserve, which is of note to what I'm going to say, because look, we have had some contact with Arthur's daughter. Arthur is deceased. But his daughter has reached out to us on behalf of the family. And they want to be really clear that they are not actually against the revocation and the disposal of the land. So they're not against that. But what their concern is, and clearly a very legitimate concern, is that they are concerned that if this goes ahead, the reserve is revoked, the reserve status, is revoked, and the land is sold, that this honouring of their late father's name will obviously be lost. And so what they are seeking is if this process does ultimately go through, they would be seeking something that would continue the acknowledgement or the honouring of their dad's name. So look, as I understand it, their dad was for 24 years on the Te Awamutu Borough Council, so obviously a predecessor local authority to Waipa District. He was 12 years deputy mayor of the Te Awamutu Borough, and he was a businessman, very involved in a long list of community organisations, such as the Te Awamutu Chamber of Commerce, the Te Awamutu Municipal Band, very involved in the Te Awamutu Volunteer Fire Brigade and a life member of that, Te Awamutu Rotary. He was a JP, a marriage celebrant, etc. Te Awamutu Competitions Society, Scouts. A long list of achievements that Arthur had that obviously led to the naming of this reserve after him. Actually, interestingly, the daughter wasn't exactly clear as to how the naming had come about, but she did mention that there were some nut trees on the, I'm not quite sure what type of nut, but there are some nut trees on the property that are they hazelnuts, are they? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So perhaps hazelnut trees, certainly nut trees, that Arthur had actually planted on the property, and in fact that was a secondary concern raised by the family that ultimately if this is if this property is developed and those I suppose those nut trees, if they are a casualty of that, they would love perhaps the opportunity for those for the fallen nut trees to perhaps be donated to Te Awamutu Men's Shed or something like that, so that the fallen timber could be used. So look, what I said to Arthur's daughter was that we would be very happy through this long process, because what I indicated is this is just if this goes through today, this is just very much the first step of quite a lengthy process, but we would be very happy to regularly touching base with them throughout the process, communicating with them throughout the process. And if indeed we do, through the process, because nothing is guaranteed here, get to the point that it, that this reserve status is being revoked, potentially the property sold, potentially that, that name lost, that we would very much be engaging with them in terms of, what a possible alternative, legacy could be in that regard. And she was very, very happy with that. So team, the onus is on us to like I say, honour that promise that I made to her, and in terms of continuing to engage. Okay, so with that said, and acknowledged, let's let Andrew present the report.
Just before we do that, I would just like to say I knew Arthur personally. He was a client, and him and his business, CMP Paint Company Limited, which occupied the premises where the Beds of Us is now on Sloane Street, Arrawatta Street. And apart from being an absolute stalwart of the Te Awamutu community, which he was also a real gentleman and a very nice guy. So, just thought I'd like to say that. Andrew.
Thank you. So this is a 2,100 square metre property. It's zoned residential underneath the reserve status. The land is not being utilised as a reserve and is considered to be surplus by our parks team. We're therefore seeking approval to begin the process to revoke the reserve status of the land and to then, with full council approval, dispose of the property. We've done some preliminary investigations and that they indicate that developing the site will be challenging because of the steep contour. Now that picture that you see there doesn't really justify the site. It's a lot steeper than that. And because of the steep contour, there's stormwater and wastewater pipes running through the property. And if it's to be developed for housing, additional foundations would also be required because of the soils. And the site is also within a stormwater overland flow path, and further investigation into this would need to be undertaken by potential purchasers. And these factors combine to make developing the site difficult and I think risky would be the way to describe it. And should you agree to revoke the reserve status of the land and later, if approval is granted for disposal, we would recommend disposing of the property as a single block. There has been some interest and there will be interest in it from potential developers, but for us, I don't see it as being a good way to increase our property portfolio.
Okay, thanks for that, Andrew. Do I have any comments or questions? Lou?
I've actually been like Andrew Boyd, and I knew Arthur Patterson quite well, as most Te Awamutu people did. Just quietly, having looked over the property, at the moment it is utilised on weekends a little bit. There were children playing on there today that I walked down there, and there was a lady walking a dog. So I know it's not a sports ground as such, but when we have the development of our country, of our town as it goes ahead, these green zones are going to become more and more challenging. And I know that the access is narrow, very much the same as Goodfellow Street. But I do think that in this case, with the site and the way it slopes and its storm problem, so it's having a water running through it as a stormwater reserve, would actually limit you quite a lot, for what you could actually build on it or do. So in this case, I'm quite happy to just let it lie on the table. I would prefer it to lie on the table as such at the moment, and have ourselves look at options, more options, and see what we can do.
Yeah, okay. If we were to let this lie on the table, would that mean that you could do a little bit more research on, or would it effectively?
Through the chair, are you talking about undertaking a survey to see how many people are using the park or development options?
More well, a bit of both actually. Yeah. Before we go down the steps of revoking the plan.
Yeah, I'm in favour of getting a bit more information, but I was wondering whether or not the Te Awamutu Community Board could be involved in it or something, you know, because they've got closer links, yeah, with the community. Yeah, I'm just suggesting that.
Yeah.
So through the chair, so I guess from a staff perspective, we were looking for the decision today to certainly in terms of public use of the land, it would be the it would be the process that we're about to engage on, subject to your approval, that would actually be almost the best test of that, because we do need to engage with the community. We need to invite the community feedback into the revocation. So so that would be the test of that. So in terms of it lying on the table, I think probably the only benefit there would be perhaps a little bit more research into development opportunities. But then I'd kind of almost with due respect almost question doing that. I think almost better to begin the revocation process and to look at what that comes back with. You don't need to go ahead with that. If there is significant concern, then we'd obviously be listening to the community as part of that anyway. So that might save the team a lot of work in terms of sort of testing the development potential of the site. Andrew's report already clearly articulates some of the issues with the site. So we do know that the development potential is quite limited. We know that there is a lot of work that any developer would have to do on that site to make it suitable for development. So I guess we already kind of know well, it's probably not the best term, but we know the lay of the land in regard to that anyway. So it is really testing whether the public want to keep this reserve as a reserve or not, and almost the best way to do that would be by going through this process. I would suggest.
Okay. Look, on that basis, I'm happy to with the recommendation that exists. Because okay, that's fine. I mean, if we were actually revoking it right now, I wouldn't be happy, but we're not doing that. So
no,
yeah. So Phil.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. Will this be Claire's idea with the community board? Will this be presented to the community board? Will they be informed of this?
Through the chair, if I may, clause of the recommendation D1, after consulting with the Commissioner, publicly notify the proposed revocation and considering objections from the public to the proposed revocation. And if still considered appropriate following above, notify the Commissioner. So we fully intend to go through a public notification, and we can, if required, if you want us to, we can push that through the community board, whatever you see appropriate. If you want to add that, more than happy to do that, to engage more so than just a typical, because I have a sense that's what you're wanting to, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily need to put it in the motion, but yes, I think that it's very appropriate the community board be involved in this. Yeah.
And the two community board reps that we've...
Monty and then Bruce.
Oh, just a suggestion here. If we're going to do that, maybe after the consultation, it comes back to here so that councillors can form a view on it. Because the part, I was quite into selling this, it was no problem, but I wanted to hear what the Te Awamutu councillors had to say. Because the part of this is that is somewhat untested is the assertion that it's surplus to requirements as a reserve.
Sure.
I was thinking, I want to hear what Te Awamutu have to say about that, because, you're introducing the medium density residential standard and so on, and these things are going to become increasingly important and rare rather than the other way around. So
Through the chair, there are parks to the south and to the east of this particular piece, but I take on board your points and
Thanks for that. Bruce?
Andrew, it's only crystal ball gazing or getting ahead of ourselves, but is there any value to the existing landowners acquiring that in the future? Because it's going to be hard to develop, but they could also chop, if they were agreeable, to make their land usable and that from that point of view, from their point of view.
Through the chair, perhaps, however, it's more likely to appeal to developers. There's potential there for maybe 2 or 3 sorts of, even though the driveway is narrow, it's likely to lend itself to 2 or 3 sort of high density type of housing units, from what I can gather just from some research. So I think for us to maximise, we would take it to the market and just see what people come back with. But adding pieces onto the extra land would be a lot of cost for little benefit potentially. Thanks.
But just to reply to Bruce's comment was the fact that that is at the moment a reserve for stormwater running through that property. So if you sold off blocks, you then had the problem of integrating all of that within those other properties. So that would make quite a considerable cost to the council and everybody. I'm happy to withdraw my earlier statement on the grounds that we progress as indicated by Kent with the retraction of the reserve status on the grounds that we've ably consult with the community. And I think that's the key issue here. That's what I was originally intending, that we actually have a much better level of consultation.
Yeah, and that is provided for in item D1 of the recommendation. So on that basis, do I have a mover? Oh, Lou's going to move. Okay, perfect. And the seconder? Bruce, thank you. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. It is carried. Thanks, Andrew. I need a resolution to exclude the public. Is that you, Monty? Thanks. And Phil, thanks. All in favour?